Good morning, everyone. We'll continue with the next chapter. How many are there? 33. Anyway, 35, 36 are there. Hopefully, others will also join. So. Vignesh, can you see the slide course contents?
Yes, sir.
Just a recap what we have seen so far. Static stability, okay. Equilibrium and static equilibrium. Then we saw something on the system of axis and notation used in this particular book. And then we saw how to derive this 6 degree of freedom equation. Next, as per the syllabus, should have been stability derivatives. This I'll keep it pending. What I'll do is whenever I'm taking longitudinal or lateral dynamics, corresponding stability derivatives I'll teach you. Okay. That will probably you will be able to appreciate it much better. If I'm going to do it now, it will be slightly difficult. Okay. Now we have this equations of motion. Now the next logical step is how are you going to solve these equations? See, finally, setting an equation is okay, differential equation. You must be able to solve it so that you get some meaningful results. Okay, so the next chapter is going to be how to solve these equations. And I think it is chapter 5 in your book. Chapter 5 or chapter 6? Yeah, I think it's chapter 5. Okay. So why at all go for this solution? Finally, we want a time domain plot of all this motion variable in response to some control input. Fortunately, you people have done this simulation in your avionics lab. Like you plotted theta, pitch attitude theta versus time for a given step input. So you found that this theta motion variable was giving some variation with time before it settled down to some stable value. So that is the overall aim. So Simulink what was Simulink doing? Basically solving the equation. Now we will have to see what goes inside this block and how we are going to solve it. And now the next question you will ask us, why you are okay, fine, you want to solve it, what do you gain from it? We want to see whether it is stable or unstable. This is exactly what happened in many cases in your avionics lab. You found that theta was uncontrollable, started diverging in many cases, and you tried to control it. But that was possible because you knew that it is diverging. So real life aircrafts you can't take chance before it flies. So you have to assess the stability of the aircraft even before the prototype is built. Okay, now you got the stability. This is just the analysis part of it. You know it is stable or unstable, but you're not satisfied. So you would like to see how the properties of the airframe is going to influence stability and what sort of corrective measures you can take. So that goes into the design part of it. So you know that aircraft is unstable. So what do I do to make it a stable aircraft? So that becomes the design part. Just giving that differential equation is very difficult, okay, to interpret what's going on. You would like to have it in a simple algebraic equation, and that's where the transfer function approach comes in handy. State space is very good if you're using computers, but it doesn't give you a feel of things. Okay. All number crunching is going on in some matrix. Whereas once you have the transfer function approach, you know which parameter, let's say the tail plane area is affecting the damping ratio. That sort of statements you can make in the transfer function approach, which is not possible in the state space. So this is in nutshell what we are trying to do. So far, we're not derived equations for stability derivatives. That shortly after these classes, few classes we'll be doing it. But right now, you can take it for granted that these stability derivatives are dependent on two things. One is airframe geometry. The second one is weight distribution. Or in other words, it's just the CG location. Once you have the stability derivatives, all you have to do is fit it into the standard form of equation. So then you get the equation of motion. Okay. This is where we are presently. So if you want these differential equations to become simple algebraic equations, all you have to do is use the Laplace transform, which you have studied in your controls course. And prior to that also this transfer class was there. I think some few courses were there. Okay, now you have the Laplace transform. You would like to take inverse Laplace transform. So that, see, this is initially it was in time domain. You converted it into S domain. But again, to get some meaningful result, you again convert it into time domain, so that you get the response in time. Okay, is it always, it's just open to the class, is it always necessary to take inverse Laplace transform to study a system? Or is it the optimum method of studying a system? I have a differential equation. I convert it to algebraic equation using Laplace, and then I convert it back to inverse Laplace transform to see the time domain response, and then say whether the system is stable or unstable. Is it really required? The last step.
But I
So if
think
you
we can
want a
also use
response,
Yes,
frequency
come
domain.
again. Yeah, Vignesh.
I think we can also use the frequency domain itself to study.
No, S is a complex frequency. Okay, though we don't. Yes, it's a complex frequency. Do I really require? Okay, what probably you're telling, hinting at is some body plot or something, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, okay.
sir,
Can you
or else
just,
we can solve numerically the differential.
yeah, numerical methods, again, no, it's okay if you're having a computer, right?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, it's tedious. This is told you two important advantages of Laplace transform. One is converts differential equation, which is horrible. Unless you get it into a standard form solution is difficult.
Sir, we can obtain
That
the
converts it into a,
transfer function.
yeah, yeah. I have to get answer. So what?
Uh,
How? Good, Ramanathan. Tell me.
sir, then we can design blocks and then we can give input and output.
That is fine. That is the corrective action. That is the design part of it. Even in the analysis, okay, I'm putting words into your mouth now. For analysis, do I really require inverse Laplace transform? So once you take inverse Laplace transform, you get something like this. No? G of s is equal to C of s by R of s. Control system notation. So what I'm trying to say is, okay, I take Laplace transform on both sides, inverse Laplace transform. So I get C of t. And then I'll take inverse Laplace transform of C of s, G of s into R of s. Yeah. Do I require this step or not? Okay, again I'll lead you to it. Why at all I should take time domain response, Ramanathan? What's the practical use of it?
Sir, to see how aircraft is behaving.
Behaving or
Sir.
technical, whether it is stable or unstable, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Now you see the plot at the bottom. This plot could have diverged, okay, instead of settling down. That's what
Yes,
inverse Laplace is telling me. So do I really want require this step? So what I do is I use control theory. Okay, I can use route table, root locus, and all these techniques, which will directly tell me whether it is stable or unstable. Isn't it, Ramanathan?
Sir, yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. Suppose the system is 40th order. Okay, differential equation. Just imagine. Huh? Can you really do this inverse Laplace transform and all? How difficult it will be. So that's so. Of course, again for your interviews and all, no, just keep this in mind. That's where the control theory helps you. Without getting into the inverse Laplace transform, you will be able to comment on the stability of the aircraft. Not only comment, you can even design an aircraft properly. Okay. Now,
Yes.
understanding why we require input out this thing solution of equation. Let's again go back to the basic aircraft model, which was a block in your Simulink. So you gave input as elevator input. Thrust, I think you maintained it constant or something you did. And you were looking at all these variables, U, W, Q, theta, out of which I think you used theta. Right? This is what you did in your autopilot design. I'm just talking about longitude now. So let's now what I am interested is some transfer function like theta of s for a given elevator deflection. What is this transfer function? Which was again in your assignment, it was given as transfer function itself for the particular aircraft. People who had actually worked on the simulation, you picked up the transfer function from the data book, right, Ramanathan?
Sir, yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah. So now we will have to find out how to get this transfer function. So that's the next step. So I will have a transfer function like theta of s for elevator. I can have u of s for elevator deflection. U is forward velocity. W is, so I can have a number of transfer functions. Okay. If I'm interested in vertical velocity, I'll have W of s by eta of s, so on and so forth. Okay. Now we'll have to see some methodology for deriving this transfer function. In this book, this particular notation is used. Theta of s by eta of s, they are given denominator as del of s because it's called the characteristic polynomial. It doesn't change with the transfer function for a particular aircraft. And numerator will say what is the output and what is the theta is the output and eta is the elevator input. So pitch attitude and this is the elevator deflection. So it just says this transfer function is for this particular combination of output and input. It's just a nomenclature used in the book. And del of s is called the characteristic polynomial. When equated to 0 is the characteristic equation. And that's what you people used in your Routh and all to find out the stability. Now we'll see how to get this transfer function. So just a shorthand notation, okay? Don't get worried about all this. The notation used in this book. That's all. Just a recap of your Laplace transform. Suppose you have take Laplace of x dot t. It's nothing but s times x of s. Initial conditions and all at times you make it 0 to simplify the equations. Okay. So you'll have all these things becoming 0. Now we'll just don't note down, just follow the logic. This is the equation what we finally had for longitudinal motion in terms of x, z, and m. Okay. So we had 3 equations, x, z, and m. Now these are differential equations. Now we want to convert it into the s domain. So just out of this, let us just take one block. Can you see a blue box, Ramanathan, at the top?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So it says mu dot something is equal to x eta of into eta. Okay. So this is u dot. If I take Laplace, it's nothing but m times s into u of s. Okay. Equals plus some all other terms, and similarly you'll have this stability derivative x eta into n of s. Now if I want transfer function, all I have to do is just manipulate this little bit. Output is u of s by eta of s. So you take all these things and then you'll get this transfer function g of s. I'm just telling a simplified thing, okay, just to make you people understand what's going on. But we can't ignore other terms. Okay? So we have to take the complete set of differential equation and then try to do it. But first step is, let's just take the Laplace transform. So we are just taking Laplace transform of the 3 equations what we have derived, and then we'll try to solve this. We can even assume that throttle is constant, just for simplicity, simplifying the things, and keeping it as just one single input. Okay. So you take tau of s is equal to 0, divide this whole thing by eta of s. Okay. So you'll end up with these theta, all these transfer functions as one of the, this column is going to give you this transfer function. This matrix is going to give you a transfer function. Now, how do I get the transfer function out of this? You have set of such linear equations now, simultaneous linear equations. How do you solve it? Use Cramer's rule. So if you want the last one, substitute this column by the input side, and then you will get the particular transfer function. Just a diversion. This is the example given in the book is for the Starfighter. Okay, it was a Mach 2 fighter which was used by Pakistan during the 70-year war. Okay, Mach 2 was something great, and this was supposed to be the best fighter in the world those days. And what you see is, anyone is aware of this fighter? So it's called the NAT. Okay. This one was a transonic fighter, really small. Okay, maybe it can fit into a garage. That small it was. And it transonic, okay, not even supersonic, but extremely agile. Because the thrust to weight ratio of this aircraft was very good. And people are just looking at those days only at speed, how to go beyond Mach 2 and all. Whereas India being not that rich a nation those days, we couldn't afford to buy supersonic fighters. Anyway, the Americans were not willing to sell. Russians are just developing the MiG-21s. So someone wise enough took this decision and said, okay, let's go for slower aircrafts, but better maneuverability and low cost. So there was no takers for this net. Okay. Uh, so that wise man has convinced the government that let's build it in India itself. And HAL started producing it in mass. These two guys called Keeler brothers, they were credited for shooting down the first starfighters. Transonic fighters shooting down the best of the aircraft in the world. Okay. Why this also has an interesting part. The reason why Americans developed the F-16 was because they found that NAT could shoot down these starfighters very easily. Okay, so they said, "Oh no, we are looking at the wrong thing." Many people who are in aircraft aero design who are designing fighters. Uh, you just go. It's an interesting piece of history. They said, "Okay." They had F-14s, Tomcats, supersonic, quite heavy, okay, I think 20,000 tons or something. Then they said, no, this is not good enough for future warfare. We require really maneuverable aircraft. And the lessons they learned from the Indo-Pakistan war was that let's have lightweight fighters. That's how the F-16 came up. And finally, the interesting part is those from Coimbatore, the last of the NATs were based at Sulu and finally ended up in Ukadam junkyard. Okay. Only one or two fighters were given to some Sainik schools. Uh, it was all sold as junk finally. For this starfighter, this is the data given. I think one of the groups did this F104. Who did this F104 for your Ramnath?
No, sir, Sanjay.
Sanjay. Okay, Sanjay. So that's a bit of history for your aircraft. F104. It didn't have very good history. The Americans claimed it to be one of the best aircrafts. Okay, so this data is given. So all you have to do now is fit it into this equation or set of equations. Then if I'm looking at theta and for elevator deflection, I just use the Cramer's rule and get this. So you do all this number crunching and finally you end up with a 4th degree polynomial, okay, in the denominator, which I can always factorize it into 2 second order polynomials, okay, or I can equate them to 0 and make it as quadratic equations. Now this is how you are getting the transfer function. Okay. So all you have to do is just look at this numerator. Denominator, there is no issues. Okay, it's the same determinant for everything. Denominator is same, no issues. Depending on whether you want theta, W or U, correspondingly you use the, but you substitute the thing in the corresponding columns and then get the transfer function. Okay, now looking at the transfer function, can someone quickly work out and tell me for this green color box, what is the zeta and natural frequency, and red color box, what is the zeta and natural frequency.
So it's omega 0.14 for the
Which one? Green or
green.
green? What
Zeta
is
is 0.1.
0 point?
1
1.
1, huh?
Yes, sir.
And omega?
Yes.
Uh,
0.14.
0.14. And this one, red one? I'm not sure whether your thing is correct. Anyway, let's see.
Sir, omega is 2.2.
2.21.
Yeah, some 2 point something. Okay. Radian per second. Yeah. Okay. Damping ratio?
Zeta is 0.2, sir.
0.2. Okay. Assuming that he has done his max correct, which is going to be more damped, green or red?
The red, sir.
Red naturally, because this zeta is more. So it's more damped. The other one is looks to be underdamped. Yeah, both are underdamped things, but relatively the green one is not going to damp out. So what it means physically is this oscillation, suppose you take them in isolation, it will continue like this, okay, and then dampen out. Whereas the red one is going to dampen out very fast. Okay. But now, depending on what aspect we are going to look at, we can even simplify this whole transfer function as just a second order transfer function, or you can combine it and take it as a fourth order thing and work on it. Okay. Now, if you look these two things, see in control system, all you saw was a second order system, but now you have a fourth order system, which is actually two second order systems. Okay, so they are called modes, stability modes. Probably in your vibration class also, you must be having some sort of these modes. I'm not sure. So stability of each mode is will depend on this damping ratio and its undamped natural frequency. Okay. So the lower frequency, now comes the two modes in longitudinal motion. First one is called phugoid, which is having a very low damping ratio. The second one is short period. As the name says, it is period itself is short. So its damping ratio is higher. That's called short period. For the aircraft to be stable, we want both the phugoid and the short period to be stable. Okay. They should not diverge. And when you look at the stability derivatives, right now you just take it for granted, only two stability derivatives are important, MW and MQ. So this in short is the solution of equation. Okay. I'll quickly repeat it so that you understand the flow. So we start with a mathematical model. We are interested in a multi-input, multi-output system. So multiple inputs are there and we have multiple outputs. In the control theory, what you saw was single input, single output. So that is a small change we are doing. We already have a set of equations, 6 degree of freedom equation. So that goes inside the box. Now that is in the form of differential equations. If we are not comfortable, we would like to get it into the transfer function form. So we took Laplace transform of all these equations, converted it into S domain. Now it is in algebraic form. Then we used Cramer's rule. Cramer's rule to get the transfer functions. Then one example is given in your book for the Starfighter, in which all this design data is given, similar to what Sanjay's group has done. Okay, all these things are given in ROSCOM. So someone is given the data. You fit all these numbers into the algebraic equations, and then whenever you want the transfer function, you just use the appropriate Cramer's rule or the substitute the appropriate column to get the transfer function, whatever you want. And this being a fourth order system can be factorized into two second order systems. I mean the denominator, so that you can independently analyze them or you can analyze them in a combined way. But in this course, you will find that we'll be doing it independently, so analysis becomes that much simpler. So when we saw the characteristic equation, now these two second order systems are called modes, longitudinal modes or longitudinal stability modes. Longitudinal stability modes. And these are phugoid and short period. Phugoid is highly undamped, whereas short period is damped. Okay, so it just settles down very short. And this is what you saw in your theta variation in your avionics lab. That pitch attitude used to settle down. If it is a stable system, it used to settle down very fast. Yeah, now tell me anything you want to ask before probably the response we can see the next class.
Sir, are these similar to the normal modes that we saw in vibration?
See, okay, if you are, I'm not very sure about what, who's taking vibration?
Lakshman sir, like it was in the fifth semester.
Okay, so was it having, was it a fourth order system or how was it?
No, sir.
You had multiple modes?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
it
We had
is-
two modes.
What is it called? Characteristics, huh? Characteristic mode.
Normal modes is what we call.
See, I hope you're not confusing with harmonics. Harmonics will always be multiple of fundamental.
Yes, sir. That was harmonics actually.
That was harmonics. Then no, then it's not same. Here, suppose the frequency is 1 radian per second, not necessarily the second mode is 2 radian per second.
Okay, sir.
So that difference you have to be. But I think, I'm not sure, there must be some mechanical system in which it should have multiple resonance frequencies. Maybe a spring mass damper will have only one resonance frequency, but you can always link up some mechanical system. It's
Yes,
just a
sir.
gut feeling.
There were multiple springs.
Then you can have multiple modes. Yeah.
Sir, we had maximum of second orders.
Second order, is it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Probably it was something to do with Flutter or something. Is it Flutter
But,
which is...
so that was a separate topic. Like there was continuous systems where we had infinite degree of freedom.
Okay, okay.
Sir, we have obtained this transfer function from the dynamics equation. So
Yeah.
for any aircraft, the order is same, but just the coefficients will change. But
Yeah. See, one is it's a 6 degree of freedom. So 6 equation is one thing which is fixed. Okay.
yes,
But the order, believe me, goes up to 40th order. It depends on how accurate you want to describe the mathematical model.
okay.
So it's a trade-off. Okay. You keep on improving the accuracy of the mathematical model. So much effort you have to put in. Is it going to give you proportional output? No issue. So people generally start off with simple fourth order system and then try to, if it doesn't work, then try to improve the mathematical model. So every manufacturer, no, aircraft designer will be having his own method of doing it.
Okay. Sir, in that case, then other modes will also come, sir, apart from Fugite and
Some combinations, some very complicated combinations are also there.
yes,
Even these two modes, no, forget about sixth order and all, fourth order system.
yes,
We are considering them as a under-damped system. Okay, it can even the same fugite can also become over-damped.
yes.
So the behavior changes completely.
Yes.
Okay, so now what we are seeing is how to get the transfer function. Next class we'll see how to get the time response of the system, and then follow it up with longitudinal dynamics. So from now onwards it's very simple. Okay, it's just this degree of say 6 degree of freedom equations which some students feel is difficult. Now onwards it's simple derivations mostly. Okay then. Thanks. When are you having class on Thursday or is it holiday?
Friday we have some.
Friday is holiday. Huh?
Okay.
No, I am asking.
No, sir. I don't think it's a holiday on Friday.
Thursday it's working, right?
Yes, sir. It's working.
So when is that long weekend?
It just went. It was last weekend actually, sir.
Oh, last weekend. Okay. So this week it's totally there. Huh?
Monday I think it's holiday. Gokulashtami.
Oh, Monday will be holiday. Okay then. Thanks everyone. We'll meet on Friday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.